Mic check 1 2. I hope this is a good mic test because I switched some settings. So let's see. Let's see. Okay. Well, I'm sharing this video because I've done some Egypt stuff. I'm gonna cover some stuff in Peru. Let's see. Gotta go to my phone. 1 second. Oh, what? It threw on my banner on the front with it. It's weird. Okay. Alrighty. It threw on my banner. That's, I guess that's a good mic check. There we go. Okay. I've never seen this video, so
checking out the stones on the road. This is great. Look at this. They have to build the road around them. These are the granite blocks from the quarry on the way to Ollantaytambo. Wow. Okay, this is a big one. Some of these stones, like this one, which is just on the backside of Ollantaytambo, are in the 80 tons or more range. There are 20 or more massive carved granite ashlars that have been left in place, seemingly abandoned. These are known locally as the tired stones, or sometimes the lazy stones. It seems quite obvious that something happened to this site, like some sort of megalithic Lego set that suffered a temper tantrum from the sun god's toddler. This massive block of stone was moved around 10 kilometers across frankly insane terrain at high altitude in the Andes mountain range. You can't see it from down below, but there are these saw cut marks, some sort of grid marks in this circular cut.
this channel is pretty alright. They cover a lot of granite megalithic stuff.
Is doing well, and I also hope that
I wanted to point out, like, this is granite, like these giant stones here, and then you have this like Incan stuff. This is all Inca, like adobe mud, stacked up rocks and pebbles. But these right here, this is what's megalithic, is these granite stones, and granite is on the most hardness scale of 7 or above. And this is like around Machu Picchu area, Cusco, Peru, Lake Titicaca. It's a funny name, but it's a whole big area in Peru that all of these megalithic things are found.
everyone had a most excellent 2025. For myself, it was quite a busy year, but one of the highlights was getting back down to South America, as I hadn't spent any time there since 2021. Ultimately, I enjoyed more than 6 weeks in Peru and Bolivia in 2025, and some of my observations are the topic of the video that I want to share with you all today. One of my very favorite sites in the Sacred Valley of Peru is Ollantaytambo. It's a small town nestled in the fork of two Andean valleys alongside the Urubamba River that flows eventually down into the Amazon. Ollantaytambo is, in my opinion, a vastly ancient place. Its roots are entirely megalithic, and the main attraction here is an archaeological site that's built on the mountainous slopes of the eastern side of the Sacred Valley.
Okay, this isn't impressive. This is just a bunch of little rocks, pebbles stacked up. Yeah, that's a lot of rocks. But there's nothing like form or function about it. They just piled them up. Let's see. Oh, there's no way I could share two scenes at once. So I'll have to, change this. A different tab. Share screen. I could do entire screen. As long as there's no video playing, I could share my whole screen. Because if I do video to have sound, I have to do it by the tab. But anyways, Machu Picchu right here in Peru. It's way high in these mountains, the coastline. And here's Lake Titicaca, this lake over here. And they have all these sites in between. In Cusco, Peru, there's the wall that shares very similar, the same casing stones as the Great Pyramids. They have a wall there. Ole, Olia and Tambo. This is another site. This is where he's at right now, I believe. In Machu Picchu here. There's a lot of megalithic sites all through here in this border of Bolivia. So, okay, come back to this video. Hey, Heron, I see you there. Hopefully everything's a go this time. I gotta share the tab. This, I'm just going over some stuff in Peru, the megalithic stuff over there, because I've shown a lot of Egyptian things in my last video. Just want to do one in Peru.
And it features some of the most amazing stonework that you can see anywhere in Peru. At the top of the structure are several megalithic terraces.
Yeah, you can see the difference between the megalithic and then this is just like piled on top of stones, like Incan work, reconstruction work.
Surrounding what might have been, originally at least, a huge megalithic structure. The walls here are frankly amazing, at the level of those of better known locations like the streets of central Cusco, which I made a video about recently, or the mighty zigzag walls of Sacsayhuaman. At Ollantaytambo, we see the same beautifully and precisely carved mortarless granite walls that are made with large cellular blocks and joined together in the
And granite is on the most hardness scale, 7 or above. So you got to have like diamond technology to cut these things. There's no way like whatever Bronze Age man could cut it. Steel can't do it. Like it's literally you need diamond blades.
both
Those
iconic and insanely difficult non-linear flowing style that is so typical to much of the architecture of the region. As you pass through these terraces and climb to the summit of the site, monstrous single-piece granite ashlars are revealed, somewhat randomly scattered around, almost as if something catastrophic happened.
and these big huge granite blocks are quarried from this opposite mountain. Like there's a quarry so how they brought these things from this mountain to this one. It's crazy.
Here in the past.
This is called foreshadowing.
In places, you can see later attempts to rebuild sections of this structure by the Inca. And the most impressive part of what remains is known as the Wall of Six Monoliths, several huge blocks in the 80 plus ton range that are tightly fit together, giving a sense of just how spectacular this structure might once have been. All around this area of the temple is strong evidence for the rebuilding, repair, and expansion of the site by the Inca culture. Small cobblestones that are put in between the large monoliths, and entire
That's an interesting picture. These like steps right here going up. That's very interesting. But when these granite blocks are put together, they're put in a way where an earthquake wouldn't be able to move them. They last forever.
around this area of the temple is strong evidence for the rebuilding, repair, and expansion of the site by the Inca culture. Small cobblestones that are put in between the large monoliths, and entire terrace sets that are made in the typical Inca style. At the lower terraces and down at the valley floor, there is further evidence of the destruction that must have occurred here in the past. A frankly baffling array of strangely carved stone blocks, clearly meant to have been inset or connected to other pieces in their original place and form, and these have tumbled down the steep slopes and have been left for us to wonder at.
So we have here this beautiful stone garden is clearly from the ancient megalithic structures, which was probably the leftovers of recycling from what the
This dude here is pretty cool. He does tours in Egypt. He's an Egyptian, so having him speak over here in Inca is pretty awkward.
inheritors used to reuse the stone. But we notice here very precise angles, like the piece in the back there, and also like the small niches. Notice the scoop marks on that slab over there. The back of it
And here.
continuance. So the continuance tool marks is nothing like anything we know about hammering or chiseling or pounding, or, which reflects, of course, the power of the tool that was cutting through the stone this way. And there is like, is it a granitic formation or a metamorphic rock? In both ways, it will be between 6.5 and 7 on the Mohs scale, which is very solid.
Check this out. Yes.
The corners are
Feel.
glazed.
Yeah, look how smooth it is, huh?
This is the original surface,
Yeah.
and this is the weathering.
Yeah.
That's a rough surface because it was locked to other.
It was locked to other things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this is beautiful.
yeah.
Polished, just like those statues in Egypt.
I believe this is how it originally was.
These four interlocking pieces.
Yeah, just feel the
The corners.
polishing on the corner.
The corners to see how the original surface of the stone was.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, being weathered.
And then this, he said, this is like interlocking, the rough to, so it's interlocking with other surfaces.
Just from how hard that rock is.
I'm wondering if these are actually interlocking pieces.
It could be, yeah. I mean, it is polished on just on the top here,
Symmetrical this way.
and then
This entire part
This looks like
looks like it's.
oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah,
It's like this is a worldwide thing. This megalithic stuff from the pyramids, like pre-flood, pre-Noah, like like the people back then, I think were way smarter because they lived so much longer, like 800 years. I think Adam lived 900 years, but just the amount of wisdom and like smartness to me is a combination of knowledge and wisdom, like wisdom's experience. I don't know. I just think they were very, very, very smart, obviously, because we can't even do this stuff today.
itself were actually shaped. And an area here reveals some astonishing witness marks for just how some of this might have happened. These witness marks, what I can really only describe as saw cuts from the ground level, and it's certainly not permitted for general tourists to climb up this hillside. But if you have the right connections and the right opportunity, and you can climb up the wall a little bit to look down into this carved semicircular section, you'll see a grid pattern of, again, what I can only describe as saw cuts.
You want to see through?
Up here at Ollantaytambo on the hill, check it out. Some really, you can't see it from down below, but there are these saw cut marks, some sort of grid marks in the pattern in this circular cut that's here in the thing. You also have little alcoves. It's amazing. Little details of the carvings that are up here. The evidence for machining on this site, as well as others in Peru, goes much further, but it's a topic that I'll get into in a future video. The megalithic roots of Ollantaytambo extend far further than just the ticketed and gated archaeological site itself. The town square and thoroughfare that lead you towards the designated archaeological zone are themselves all part of its ancient heritage. Despite having been rebuilt, likely time and time again, the echoes of this place's incredible past persist in the massive granite blocks that were clearly too cumbersome for the locals to remove, as well as the huge foundation stones of what today are churches and shops in the village. My good friend and guide, Rojo, whose family have lived here in Ollantaytambo for generations, tells us a story about his grandfather who witnessed the last rebuild of this plaza and the fact that there were so many huge granite blocks that they just couldn't move. They ended up having to bury them, effectively raising the height of the
Yeah,
plaza itself.
that's pretty damn heavy. That there's not. They just left it there, built the town
EVE
around it, but
Online is a vast universe.
ain't got enough
Yeah.
horses in that
Grandfather told me
village.
that this is the unit they could have taken out because, like 30 years ago, there were no machines here, like tractors. Yeah.
So they
They
couldn't
have
lift
to
it.
cover many of these megalithic stones are now below this street too. Either
Yeah.
bigger than that one.
Even bigger.
It's the unit they tried to expose, let's say.
Just to have it there. Yeah.
That was moved from a quarry somewhere like hundreds of miles away or hundreds of miles to where it's at today. I mean, but then they can't move it back out when they need to.
That it was the only stone that they couldn't take it out. And he told me also that massive piece of stones is still underneath here, either bigger than that one. So around you, there is many places, yeah, many pieces of stones that they have to bury because it was difficult to take it out. At that time, they didn't have a machine either. At that time, so make sure this is probably the smaller one that they couldn't move. Yeah, the other one, huge one. But you can see still some other piece of the stones. Oh yeah. Very actually look the little taxi over here, the one Kia. Yeah, look behind the colonial door. There is two blocks in the both
Two big
sides
ones there, yeah.
with the same color. So this is the famous pink granite stone. Yeah, that they brought actually from at least 11 k's far away from the other mountain.
So 11 kilometers at that quarry where those big stones on the other mountainside.
Of the wall around this church. And I think in the church there are some, but there's another block here.
The ones that still remain, like these ones we're looking at, some of which have been repurposed as convenient shelves to display wares or even just to sit on, they're merely those that couldn't be buried at the time. But according to his grandfather, these are relatively small compared to what was once visible here. It is these pink granite blocks that we're going to talk about today. And again, these ones here are just the small ones. As I'd mentioned in the introduction, at the top of the actual site, there is quite the collection of megalithic ashlars made from this same pink granite rock. And some of those are in the 80 to 90 ton range. They're monsters. The fact that they're scattered around the top and on both sides of this steep mountain, like something catastrophic happened here, and then parts of this temple being obviously rebuilt by the Inca, is one of the reasons that Ollantaytambo is one of my very favorite sites in Peru. It's perhaps the best example of the distinct three architectural styles and layering or orders of construction that can be found all across the Sacred Valley. This layering of different architectural styles is one of the strongest sets of evidence for a far longer and more complex history of human civilization in this area. Based on the classification system that was developed by Jesus and his father, Alfredo Gamara, the oldest and perhaps the most mysterious form of stonework is known as Hanan Pacha, the carved monolithic rock, shapes cut into the living mountains themselves. And in many places, this form seems to show tremendous degrees of erosion. Some people suggest that this shaping of the mother rock is nothing more than quarrying. And while I'd say that it seems likely some of the shaping was intended to socket other stones in, I don't agree that it's simply just quarry work. This piece, for example, isn't quarrying. If the target was to remove a block from here, then how are you making the back cut? It's a deliberately carved alcove. Also, this very strange carved piece of bedrock at Ollantaytambo, likewise, isn't simply quarrying. What its intended function was, or why there are bedrock nubs still here, I really have no idea. And that's really another characteristic of Hanan Pacha, its sheer mysteriousness. Then there is the classic megalithic style, the precisely shaped and mortarlessly joined cellular walls known as Uran Pacha. Installations of this style are usually of a uniform type of stone, often transported significant distances, and the blocks themselves run into the tens of tons or even in excess of 100.
That's what I'm trying to reiterate is just how hard the stone is and how they make these intricate shapes and prepam that fit together like that. Like that's why I don't get into mud flood stuff. Like there was only one flood, the deluge, and like the megalithic stuff is like the great link of the past civilization with ancient high technology and us today. Like it's not a mysterious flood in the 1600s nobody knows about. We just stumbled upon everything. That just sounds ridiculous to me. Because oh, they built big churches, whatever. Show me some granite. Something like impossible.
Clearly in evidence here at Ollantaytambo, along with the obvious once you see it, you can't unsee it layering of the styles, with Hanan Pacha on the bottom, then Urun Pacha megalithic work, then Ikun Pacha Inca style on top. This layering clearly indicates multiple periods of building and repair. It also suggests a far longer and more complex history of these sites, along with some very sophisticated capabilities that were clearly in use by some unknown builder culture long in the past. I've covered these styles and their implications to the story of history in some detail before, so rather than getting into them in depth in this video, I'd point at either of these two previous works of mine if you want more info on this topic. In this video, we're going to look at some of the other supporting evidence for the premise of a lost ancient high capability builder culture at Ollantaytambo. In particular, I want to focus on the megalithic granite ashlars, the amazing logistical achievement that they represent, and the connections they share with other sites around the world. Returning back to these ashlars, several also have very strange recesses, nubs, or protruding ledges that are carved into them that are again fairly characteristic and quite prevalent in the stonework of this area.
Wow. Pretty great. I mean, this.
Which the same knobby work is on the casing stones on the Great Pyramids. There's red granite casing stones at the bottom. Exact same style, shape, the way they fit together, the knobs, their interlinking is it was a worldwide technology and way of building. And when he flooded the world, it covered the highest mountain, which is Mount Everest. So the flood was 6 miles high, it just demolished everything. And the only thing left today that we can see is these granite stones, which they last forever. And the way they built them, they'll be there forever.
Bring precision to the other stones around it. One of my recent visits to Ollantaytambo coincided with the town's anniversary, and there was just a huge festival going on. It was a good time. You had to squeeze through thousands of people to eventually get to the site, but because there wasn't much going on at the actual Sun Temple, we were afforded the opportunity to take a closer look at some of the amazing details in this alcove.
This is amazing in here.
Heron, I don't know if you're still there, but did you see though that Serapeum in Egypt? It has like those like 24 granite sarcophaguses, they call them, in the niches.
I mean, I've been in here before they roped it off back in the day. But, yeah. Holy shit. Oh man. Yeah. Me either. It must be. That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, Rojo's pointing out that if you feel underneath the lip on this giant big block where Russ is, on top of that lip too, and on top of that lip, here as well, here on top, you get a sense for the polish and those just fine work surfaces that haven't eroded. That's super smooth. And the other, it's the lips, it's the smooth lips underneath. Yeah, it's good. And one other thing to note here is, again, the Inca rebuilding, right? Yeah. You can see here the Inca were trying to move these giant stones and reassemble this as they could. So you see like cobblestones underneath these big blocks. So they're obviously lifting these and stacking stones under them, but they never quite put it all back together. And you'll see plenty more of that. They were trying to repair it, right? They were trying to put this back together. And kudos to them. So I bet you this is quite smooth too.
Granite blocks were likely all originally finished to this level, smooth and reflectively polished, much like other ancient hardstone artifacts, such as the single piece.
That's exactly what let's talk about the Serapeum. Like one of these granite
boxes in the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt. In a few other places at the top of the site, some more traces of this smooth, highly polished and reflective
Oh yeah, you can see that vitrified, shiny, beautiful surface.
I'm gonna cover a lot more Egypt. I just wanted to get some Peru stuff in there, which it's easy to link the two with Cusco, with the casing stones, Great Pyramids. This is a long video for just Ole and Tom. Can't even say it. Ole, yeah, Olen Te Tombo. Yeah. Anyway,
times.
there's a lot of sites in Peru with this granite stuff. I mean, that's amazing. This whole wall of granite stones.
Might suggest that the architecture here has a far longer history. Even Wikipedia will tell you that humans have been living here for many.
Yeah, Wikipedia's got a lot of stuff it has to say.
This premise, there were people here well and truly before the Inca. When Pachacuti, the Inca emperor, conquered Ollantaytambo in the mid 1500s, it's said that he razed the existing town here to the ground and then rebuilt it in the name of the Inca. The evidence for this rebuilding of an original and older megalithic structure can be found all over the place and not just on the archaeological site. The town itself, as mentioned, has megalithic roots. Next to the site is a beautiful residential district with narrow cobblestone.
Well, of course.
Crosses the mighty Urubamba River and climbs up to the Sun Temple on the eastern side. There are 20 or more massive carved granite ashlars that have been left in place, seemingly abandoned. These are known locally as the tired stones, or sometimes the lazy stones, and we had a chance to check out several of them in detail over multiple days.
Comes from up here, and then it dog legs around to go that way. But this block's been here forever. Someone tried to quarry it. You can see there's the wedge and feather, or wedge and chisel marks all the way up here, and then also on top. But I mean, dang, I don't know. It's like at least 2 meters this way. Let's see how long this way. 1, 2, 3. So 2 by 3.
It's a big one.
Look at this. They have to build the road around them. These are the granite blocks from the quarry. 2.8 is a massive piece. Yeah. So it's about 2.8.
120 tons.
It's like that little square scoop mark. And those scoop marks are in the Aswan quarry in Egypt. There's a quarry in Baalbek, Lebanon. See, I got these scoop marks, and I have my ideas about how that's done. Resonating with the frequencies of the quartz crystals.
It's one of those
Like a ultrasonic, some kind of ultrasonic sound. Depends on how you design it, but it has to do with frequencies.
just tried really hard and really wanted it. It was a national project, explanations, and it's utter nonsense. A rough areas to well over 12 and 13,000 feet at the actual quarry face, and it's only accessible via a steep mountainside and a switchback trail. Today, it's only ever visited by hikers or locals with pack animals. And having spent a day hiking up and down here from Ollanta I can tell you it's a pretty tough trail. It's steep and it's at altitude. Certainly, no vehicles are coming up here. Honestly, quite amazing.
Hey, thanks, John. Okay. Well, cool sight, man. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Guys, we didn't know the Earth was a ball until the 1600s, and we didn't know the Earth that anything until after the 1600s, basically. No recorded history. Where's the blueprints of this stuff? Ain't got no blueprints. Ain't got no blueprints of the pyramids either. It's very awkward. Why do you continue to scoop? Yeah, better not. Very. Might be doable.
So the conventional story about Machu Picchu is that it was constructed in the 15th century from scratch by the Inca and took approximately 25 years to build. However, you're going to see some artifacts that don't fit the paradigm that the Inca could have constructed it. This is a possibility. This is the so-called sacrificial stone. There's actually no evidence whatsoever that the Inca did human blood sacrifices at all. That was likely made up by the Catholic Church to shame the Inca descendants. And now this mountain in the background, which we'll see in a little bit, is the actual mountain of Machu Picchu. And here we see the sacred river below, called the Wilcanota. And that, of course, is the main part of the citadel of Machu Picchu. So there is Machu Picchu Mountain. So the name of the city has been forgotten. It's just that academics decided to call it Machu Picchu because it's located on Machu.
They don't have the blueprints, this stuff, guys. Where are the blueprints?
Almost all of Machu Picchu. In order to properly see it, actually takes a few days because it is huge in scale. This is just a portion. It's the main part, but just a portion of the Machu Picchu complex. And there is Huayna Picchu, the mountain in behind. Huayna Picchu means young peak. Machu Picchu means old peak.
I doubt I'd even get the blueprints in my own house. Like, I don't know how I'd even think of how to get those things.
Ceremonial and living center. And of course, you see all of the terracing system that flanks all sides of this incredible place. So looking out at the other mountains in the area, down to the Wilcanota River again, and across to the main part of the complex, which we're going to be exploring in just a few minutes.
My house is 20 years old, so it's long gone. That's ancient history by now.
More vista to allow you to see the magnificence and my head of the Machu Picchu area. It's actually highly likely, or most probable, that the Inca discovered Machu Picchu, and then they were so blown away by the mastery craftsmanship of the core area that they decided to make it a major center. So now we're walking down through the terracing system, and eventually we're going to approach the core part, and the core is where we find ancient megalithic aspects which the Inca could not have constructed, so clearly they discovered the core part, which comprises about 5% of Machu Picchu, and then they built over the course, most likely of centuries, the whole complex because it is absolutely huge. So here we are walking down the main ceremonial road that actually leads to Cusco if we go backwards. And this is one
Lord Racer, hey man.
in ancient times to get into Machu Picchu. The other one is on the backside of Machu Picchu Mountain and would lead you to the last Inca city called Vilcabamba.
I'm just checking out some megalithic sites in Peru this time.
The main gate in traditional times to enter into Machu Picchu. So this is how the royal Inca people would enter Machu Picchu from the city of Cusco, which was, of course, their capital.
Keegan really enjoys telling people that she was a St. Jude patient.
And what we're seeing is Inca period construction. You can see there are gaps in the stonework. There's some filling that was done with small stones and also clay mortar in some cases. But it is possible that this main gate was originally megalithic and was rebuilt by the Inca. Notice the small stones on top. So here we are proceeding down towards the ceremonial core. And again, here we're looking at basic Inca construction.
Nothing impressive
This is looking
so
back
far.
at where we started this adventure. And here again, Inca construction.
This guy, Brian Forster, does a good job of pointing out what is actual megalithic and what is like more recent times, like the Incan culture, how these little tiny stones up. But we'll see where you can distinguish between the two very easily.
White granite. Now, the curious thing about Machu Picchu is that you can see their big flat surfaces, whereas all the other mountains in the background are
I missed that little part, some of granite.
all the other mountains in the background. Picchu is that you can see their big flat all white granite. All of these mountains
Oh boy, white granite.
relatively rough, various sizes of stones put together. No surfaces are especially well done. And all of the stone of the construction of Machu Picchu came from the mountain itself. It's all white granite. All of these mountains in the area are all solid white granite. Now, the curious thing about Machu Picchu is that you can see their big flat surfaces, whereas all the other mountains in the background are peaked or rolling. And here we see a giant stone. This is part of the quarry that the Inca used. They took advantage of the cracks in order to be able to split the stone. And now we're starting to approach the megalithic part of Machu Picchu. Again, most visitors don't even notice the difference between the wall on the left and the wall that you're looking at in the background. But here we have relatively rough Inca work. And here again, and then this incredibly fine craftsmanship. Granite is a very
It's
hard
amazing.
stone, so the bronze tools of the Inca would have been useless. Therefore, This is the part of Machu Picchu that they found in ruins. And again, I don't think that Machu Picchu was constructed over 25 years. It's probably hundreds of years because of the scale of the complex. But here you see the basic difference. The Inca found these giant megalithic blocks, and then they decided to repair it by adding the smaller stones to the top part. You see the great difference between the giant stones on the bottom and the little ones on top. The rough work on the top, the very fine work on the bottom. And then here, this is another part of the megalithic aspect of Machu Picchu. And there, again, relatively crude Inca work. So what we can see is that a giant cataclysm struck Machu Picchu in the distant past, before Inca times, and pulled all of these stones apart. They used to fit perfectly together. As you can see, the incredible level of craftsmanship here as compared to the rough work above here. And now this is the inside of this interesting three-sided structure. It never appears to have had a fourth side. And here we see the cataclysmic damage. The right wall has sunken down by about 2 feet. That would require a huge earthquake. And now look at this very complex stone on the bottom. Look at the number of corners and the number of angles. I believe
And this is granite, yeah.
approximately 22 angles, and the other stones three-dimensionally interlock with it. That is an incredible achievement.
White granite. So it's on the Mohs hardness of 7 or above. And they're making these little edges and corners, they all fit together. And they're built to withstand earthquakes and stuff. So whatever shook them or rocked them, it was something on a kind of like a cataclysmic scale.
And this mountain was shaped by the Inca, or this rock was shaped by the Inca to reflect the mountains in the background, which is quite curious. Reason unknown. And then finally, this is the pinnacle of Machu Picchu. This is called the hitching post of the sun, or the Intihuatana. And it was used as a calendar by the Inca people, not simply for the solstices and the equinoxes, but it was likely used every day of the year as a way to check time and also compare time or days of the year with crop production in the local area and beyond. So this is not simply a stone, this is the top of the mountain itself.
What do you think about that, Lord Racer? Do you think there was a mud flood in the 1600s? Or do you think there was only like one flood, like the Great Flood? Because there's a lot of mud flood stuff that I never got into. I was always in the megalithic, like granite, most hardness go, like the Great Pyramids, all those fascinating things around what, I mean, that was like pre-flood. I mean, that's amazing, man. That's like Garden of Eden type area, center of civilization before the flood and after. It's ridiculous. But these things, these megalith things are worldwide. I don't know what this is. Samples of
The ocean
megalith.
to the west.
Oh, oh boy. Oh, these H blocks. These are really interesting because you put a magnet in there and the magnet starts spinning. It'll flip around, reverse, or they have magnetic properties as well.
Went down 2 feet. And then when I
Oh,
asked the architect,
he
these
demonstrates
stone
it.
blocks, technically almost perfect. The Tiwanaku culture were a Bronze Age civilization. They could not have done this. And if you take a compass and actually push it into one of the slots, it'll rotate by 270 degrees. And then when you pull it back, it goes back to its original position. So that's something I'm researching or working on right now. And the famous Sun Gate. It weighs about 10 tons. And again, the quarry is around 60 kilometers away. And you see this fracture in it. So some cataclysmic force came and broke it in half. Then the Tiwanaku people show up. They raise it back up again.
That megalithic stuff is all over Peru, though. It's amazing.
The casing stone that's still there, they fit together so perfectly, you can't fit a piece of paper in the joinery.
Like, does people realize, even understand how big the pyramids are? Like, look how tiny these little people look to one layer. These things are 500 and something feet. They were the tallest things in the world till the Eiffel Tower was built. I mean, it's just unbelievable, right? It was pre-flood, the real flood, the deluge. Just this one person, right? How does these, yeah, and then they built it to the sky, yeah, yeah. And the crazy thing is the inside of the chamber is all granite. This is sandstone, yeah, but the chamber has granite. Amazing.
So the Great Pyramid does not sit on the Giza Plateau, it's locked into the Giza Plateau. And there are a series of shafts and tunnels on the Giza Plateau that are not accessible to the general public. But
I might have to cover Egypt more in depth. There's so many sites there.
Hey guys.
it appears to me it's pretty obvious that there was a giant cataclysmic event that stopped the construction of the Serapeum. And you see the size of them. Each one weighs 100 tons. The lid is 30 tons. The box is 70 tons.
There's so many freaking sites of this. Southern Planet. Yeah.
Well, they were a Bronze Age culture.
Like, is there a company in the world that could build this thing today? I doubt it. Like, they're trying to figure out the mud flood stuff. How do they do that? Well, can they build these churches today that the mud flood people? Well, can they build this thing today? No, don't even attempt it. Mud flood. It's terrible. Tartaria. That's the story. Tartaria. 1600s Enlightenment. So ridiculous. The 1600s is the first time they had anybody from Europe go to Egypt and record anything about it too, I believe. It's the only written text. First ever written text is the 1600s. But the crazy thing is Alexander the Great from Greece was there 300 BC. And then Julius Caesar was there 50 BC. Julius Caesar married, well, he didn't marry Cleopatra, which is the very last remaining Greek, the very last Greek ruler of Egypt. She was like Cleopatra the Third because the first Cleopatra was actually Alexander the Great's sister. You got it. Let me share this. Do, do, step. Egypt's here. You got Alexander the Great of Greece. He conquered all of this 300 BC. He came to Egypt. I got to show you this. Horns. Horns of Alexander. This right here. Horns of Ammon. This is Alexander the Great. And he has a coin. Horns of Ammon. Ammon is the Egyptian god, deity. He's the equivalent with Zeus and Jupiter, because there. So you had this Alexander the Great guy conquered all this. You hear Israel conquered that for 300 years, and then the lineage goes all the way down to Cleopatra. She's the last Greek, and then Rome right here, where we got the Vatican, all that. This Greek typography is not good. Like 300 years later, Italy had a population boom. They had so many more people. So Julius Caesar, 50 BC, came in and took this over. 50 years before Christ's, um, you know, crucifixion, Julius Caesar was in control. Now we all know Rome is the one that started, like London. It was Londinium or something. It was started by Rome. We're still under the Roman system today. The way their government's set up and things. And before Alexander the Great, 300 BC, it was the Assyrians, which the Assyrians was all this, the Kuwait, Iraq, Syria, up around. It was like this whole area. These Assyrians believed in a flat earth, but they had mythological stuff. The Mesopotamian, Assyrian, yeah. Then Alexander came in, kicked them out, and then 300 years later, Rome came in, kicked the Greeks out, and then 600 years after Christ, they gave it to the Arabs, Muslims, which is around the same time they made Muhammad made the Quran. So how do we get on this? Yeah, yeah. Which that little history lesson. Okay, if that was going on around Christ's time, Rome, who took over Egypt, was there. We don't have any recorded information until a little British guy and a mathematician, some traveling men, traveled down to Egypt. Like, hey, we finally did some measurements on here. It looks like they're made for, yeah, they were tombs for pharaohs. So apparently, nobody knew anything about the pyramids until 1600s, kind of like the mudflood stuff, like and the globe, the Enlightenment, 1600s. Jeremy Beard, what's up? I just looked down. I'm just getting written. Um, yeah, the 1600s, they had the Enlightenment. Oh, the globe. You got Newton, Galileo. You got all your heavy hitters, Copernicus. Oh, y'all didn't know we lived on a globe. Well, these Alexander the Great, this dude right here, he was with the Hellenistic Greeks. the Hellenistic Greeks were the ones that came in and kicked these Assyrians out, these flat earthers. These Hellenistic Greeks are the ones that came up with the globe theory, the whole globe, planetary, all that kind of stuff thing. 300 years before Christ, they had already done the globe. So that's very mysterious, right? These people are trapped in a time period between when what has already been to where it's like the large language model on the internet. Like if it ain't on the internet, there's like a time trap in there. Like, there's some missing space here. It's all these AI. Like, yeah, they've already known it was a globe, and they already knew about Egypt. So all this mud flood stuff, it's so big and so magical. Just dang, there's 10 million people over here, so they can do that. They could build the Empire State Building now. In the 1930s, 1800s, nope. 1700s, nope. These star forts. So you're telling me if you have a freaking army and you even have a whole corps of engineers, you wouldn't have them people picking lifting stones. You say we're gonna build a fort. I don't know if you've seen the forts today. They're huge. Anyway, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Most of it's in Tennessee. Ain't got no star for it. Must be modern. I don't know, man. I just not on board with that's impossible. So Christopher Columbus came over, and then the Capitol building. I'm just trying to figure out which buildings. The Star Fort, 1700s. Yeah, New York. No, this is 2000. Wow. But I'm gonna differ on a lot of things, and that's for surely one of them. Why don't you show any megalithic stuff? These mud flooders. Why don't they bring that up? And why is mud flooders mainstream? Why are they not blacklisted? Why are mud flooders allowed to have a channel dedicated directly, and then have just unlimited amounts of subscribers, and because they don't give a damn about it because it's ridiculous. I think this is amazing about the Red Sea. Let me get my. These were definitely channels pre-flood. Like you could tell with the topography, it would have came right out. And over here this way, this was like a giant super highway. Back out to this one over this way. Like you see this mountainous ridge here and here. There's one here, here, and how this goes straight up the Dead Sea. That's a saltwater lake. That's the saltiest. That's the densest lake in the world. The lowest point in the world too on land. You see how we just went up this trench right here. These two, this pathway, you got this salt water here trapped. You keep going up this little path. Okay, this one's fresh. Why? Because you have fresh water coming in off the mountains through and then going out to sea. So you have fresh water in and out. This is landlocked. This is a landlocked lake. All landlocked lakes are saltwater. Pretty much, you better have a nice little spring going through it, or fresh or water coming in and going out. All these are salt lakes, salt lake, salt lake, salt lake, all salt lakes. In Iran, all these are salt lakes, salt lakes. You want to see something really interesting? China, all these are salt lakes. How do you get salt lakes in a desert where it don't rain? How do you have all these lakes somewhere where it doesn't rain? How is that possible? And they're all salt. They're like look at that white there. It's just salt. Lots of salt. And then you look on a larger scale, it kind of looks like if a flood were to like pour in through here, it kind of looks like they took out probably because I don't know, it's speculating a little bit. But what are facts is landlocked lakes are pretty much they're all salt. Just tell me, the frickin' Salt Lake, ain't it? Yep. There's no river coming in and going through it, going out. Yeah. See, this one will probably be fresh. It has the mountain water. I don't know. I haven't looked every single one up, but I've looked up dozens and dozens where I got so tired. I'm like, man, they're all salt. Taroko. Let's see, it's something lake. Find a lake. It's named a lake. Let's see. Bigger one. It must not be at lake size. Jesus. Zari Namco. I don't know what this is. Let's see. See. Salt Lake in Tibet. There's a salt lake. See this over here? Like, I've done it to, they're all salt lakes. It's ridiculous, right? Even over here in Egypt, would you think that this lake is fresh or salt? Like, it ain't connected to the river. So what do you think? No, it ain't connected to the river. The Salt Lake, bro. The Quran Lake. You'd think it'd be a delta off of this river, but it ain't. It's completely separate. Let's look it up. Quran Lake. Quran Lake. Lake Morris. Let's see if that's spelled it right. Okay. Lake Morris must be, yeah, that one. It persists today as a fraction of its former size as the hypersaline Lake Huron. So it's hypersaline. See how that salt? Why is that a saltwater lake? Right? Right next to a freaking river. This is the Suez Canal, so of course that's come. Well, that's saltwater, of course. But yeah, this is interesting though, where this does come right up through here. That's the Dead Sea, the saltwater lake, landlocked. Galileo, that's freshwater, mountain water coming in, going out to sea, like all water does. And then this ridge, you can see it still comes up and out. It'd be stupid to have one inlet going here and then another inlet going here as well. That would be dumb. So you'd have one going connected to this, and then one going connecting this. All these are salt lakes. It's not connected to the river in one way. It's Salt Lake. I'm not. I don't want to look up it anymore. Um, yeah, and it would reshape a great flood, a deluge would reshape land and stuff. And then once everything settled down, then once you started getting rains again, they would go from the high elevations in the mountains down and out to sea level. So now, right, it's gonna go from mountains out to sea, but it's a little easier. And what's amazing too, Baalbek, Lebanon, is a huge megalithic site. So it goes through here up, and then Lebanon. You get up here to Baalbek. It's like a super highway for boats and things. They got the quarry here, granite quarry. Um, take this. Stone of the pregnant woman. This is in Baalbek. It's a granite monolith still attached to the bedrock. The Temple of Jupiter is close by with the Trilithon. So the Trilithon at the Temple of Jupiter. This is in Baalbek, Lebanon. Oh, let's see. The Temple of Jupiter. What did I say? Yeah, popping in and out. Yep. Yeah, Temple of Jupiter. Okay, right here. So definitely, this would have been a channel connecting, these megalithic sites. It goes up, and then I believe in it. It used to curve back around to get back out, to make a highway around here. So anyway, it's interesting to point out. Definitely a channel. And then here we are, Baalbek, Lebanon. We got all this megalithic stuff. Then where do you think it goes? I guess it's up to you to decide out this way somewhere. So anyway, they call this like the Garden of Eden area. I don't know. I think the whole spot really, I don't know. It's hard to tell, and I don't want to make theories, so definitely channel. There's evidence of flood all over, but one flood, the Great Flood. There was an ancient civilization of high technology that lived before us. It's evident they lived a lot longer. It shows it. It says it in the Bible, the genealogy. They lived longer lives. They were smarter. They built impressive things, more impressive than any of this mud flood stuff you're showing me. I don't care any Capitol building, any church, whatever Catholic church. I don't care. It's not. It doesn't impress me at all. What impresses me is this stuff. This is impressive. The Great Pyramids are impressive. A church is nothing to the Great Pyramids. To any of the pyramids, the Red Pyramid, the Bent Pyramid, all of them. I don't care. Your church. That's not impressive. Not impressive at all. Anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. Um, I'm not a mud flooder. I'm a megalithic truth seeker. So hope you don't waste any of your time on this stuff and you realize one day what really is impressive, or maybe you just haven't seen it yet. So, anyways, I'll see you all next time on my next little megalithic thing. I'll probably take a deeper dive into Egypt and the impressive sites around there. See y'all later.